Welcome to our introduction to our Arts in Bloom coming up May 20th and 21st. We're going to be at the 68 North Main Street in Woodstown, the old red house. Be demonstrating marquetry, sculpting, French polishing, and the making of the George Hollingshead mirrors or looking glasses, and you can see some of those videos online also. But here we're going to be demonstrating very briefly, but more so just talking about French polishing. French polishing is nothing more than using lac, a shellac to build a finish, a clear film finish, used in the 3rd and 4th quarter of the 18th century. It came to its high peak. It builds a very strong, very durable, and very bright finish. Sheen is very difficult to control other than with abrasives. So you get a very high gloss sheen if it's worked properly. Shellac is one of those finishes that can be very easily repaired. One of the few finishes. It's totally natural. At one time, the M&M or Mars Company was coating M&Ms with shellac, so it's totally edible. And in that case, it didn't let the colors bleed of the candies when it was in your hands. So what's required is we have alcohol. Here I'm using a grain alcohol. It's always good to have an alcohol. Grain alcohol is a very low water content, so less moisture is good, is better. The alcohol and the finish can dry quicker and flash faster. I have shellac. This shellac is made up from using these flakes, and this is how the shellac comes. Shellac is an exoskeleton, a house, so to speak, of the lac bug. The lac bug is a bug that's only found in India, only in India. And what the bug does grows on a certain species of bush. And, you know, for instance, if this was the branch, the bug starts here and actually makes almost like a cocoon. And the bug lives there and breeds there and has its offspring. Then the offspring move further down the branch or the twig. And as the tree continues to grow, the bugs continue to make these cocoons on the tree. So what happens in the old section there? The first family dies, so their bodies are locked in there, excrement's locked in there, and this keeps propagating itself. So human beings found somewhere in the 18th century, if they take this cocoon-like structure, which is very brittle, very dark, such as these flakes we have here, they rehydrate it with alcohol. So somehow they figured out alcohol is a solvent for rehydration. Perhaps they had some wine and they put it in wine and it worked. Nevertheless, there's a whole filtering process. You can buy this in almost a super blonde or yellow or clear, or this is the dark rubied unfiltered. So I use 4 different colors in conservation and restoration when I'm trying to match natural materials with natural colors, that when things over time, a color or the repair is not going to stand out to show it was a repair. You're using like materials with like original materials. So here you're almost at a super blonde. You know, this is a slight amber tone to it, but this is again shellac in the bottle that I've made up. Okay, and again, our short course here, we're using a type of wadding. You got to get all the knots out if you have any knots. Pull the knots, and I make it into what the French call a mouse. The wadding is inside, fits in the palm of your hand. You either use pure cotton or linen, and you really wind this up. And you can create different shapes if you're dealing with a wad. You can get points to get into sections, into corners, into carvings. And you can make very, very tiny, these are called tampons or a mouse in French, very small tampons. Or huge tampons to do an enormous tabletop, 20 feet long. And what it does, it gives you great forearms and great biceps. So here, when I teach my week-long French polishing course, what I'm doing down here, we usually use a brush. We brush on 2-3 coats, then we sand this down to 220. And then we put some more coats and we sand it down. So we eventually move this way and down to here, and this is the final French polish. And each time we're abrading with 220, 320, 600, 800 grit. And then here it's just taking the tampon down the top. Now keep in mind, this storyboard or the sample board has been around the block. It's been, I don't know, maybe 50 demonstrations in the last 10 years. So right now I'm just rehydrating with alcohol just to try and rehydrate the surface. And I'm just running the alcohol tampon down the top to rehydrate it. So again, I'm just rehydrating a sample board that, again, has been used for several classes. But just think about an airplane landing. You want to catch the end, but you cannot stop. If you stop anywhere in here, this is going to melt into the surface and you have a real issue. So you're landing, come down and up. Land this way and overlap, down and off the end. So you keep doing this, and this is for final sheen, to get up to 100% sheen, as much as shellac can do. And you can look at the sheen, it's been changed already. Now this panel's been sitting probably for 6 months now vacant, and no one's touched it. So you can see how it's changed. I'm doing very lightly. But when building, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, when building, you're seeing a lot of circular marks. You're rigorously taking your tampon and you're working the shellac into the pores of very open grain wood. It's mahogany. You're vigorously working it in with a little bit of pumice. The pumice is acting as an abrasive that actually cuts the fibers of the wood down that are standing up, and it colors the actual finish a little bit, and you're actually forcing it into the pores. But toward the end here, we are just clearing out a little bit and just getting the sheen up. Again, figure airplane landing, a little bit in, go all the way off the end, landing a little bit in, off the end, and this becomes very fast and second nature. And this is a totally repairable finish. So when I get a piece of 18th century furniture in for conservation or restoration, no challenge is too big. It's very simple. This is not plastic like the lacquers of the mid-19th or the 20th century. So be quite aware when you're out buying antiques. I don't care if you're at the Brandywine Antique Show. There's many dealers there that are using people that don't know how to apply shellac properly. They don't know about its properties, how to use it, and they're using lacquers and they're bamboozling you. So be quite aware. All you have to do is take a little bit of alcohol and a cotton ear swab and touch an area. If it melts, it's shellac in an undisclosed location. Otherwise, they're using lacquer, and we should not be using lacquer on our 18th, 17th, or 19th century antiques. Okay, come and see us again at the Old Red House, the 20th and 21st of May. Thank you very much.